Okay, in this question we're asked to graph this absolute value function, and we have to talk about the transformations that are being done. First up, the -1 that's on the outside will accomplish an x-axis flip, we'll say. Reflection over the x-axis. And secondly, the +3 will accomplish a shift to the left 3 units. And then thirdly, -2 will accomplish a shift down 2 units. And so normal absolute value of x will look like that. We're going to reflect it over the x-axis, shift left, and shift down. Left 3, down 2. And it's going to open down. That's the graph of y equals negative absolute value of x plus 3 minus 2. So there's a constant c, and we know that f of g of 7 is equal to 8. Well, first off, what's g of 7? That's 3 times 7, so that's 21. So f of g of 7 is f of 21. And that'll be the square root of 21 plus c. Now we know that this is equal to 8, and so we have to solve for c. The square root of 21 plus c is equal to 8. I'm going to start by squaring both sides to get 21 plus c is equal to 64, and subtracting 21 over to get that c is 43. Number 8, we have to find the inverse. The first step in finding the inverse, replace the f of x with the y. Second step is to interchange the x and y. The third step is to solve for y. And we'll start that by cross multiplying and get x times the quantity y plus 1 is equal to y. So xy plus x is equal to y, or x is y minus xy. Factor out the y to get x is y times the quantity of 1 minus x, and then divide by 1 minus x. So y is equal to x over 1 minus x. That's your inverse function. And we can verify it by doing f of f inverse, by doing f of x over 1 minus x. So when I want to say x, I have to put in x over 1 minus x. So it says, instead of saying x over x plus 1, I say x over 1 minus x over x over 1 minus x plus 1. Multiplying everything by 1 minus x will leave us with x in the numerator, x in the denominator, and a 1 minus x also in the denominator. And these x's will cancel each other out leaves with x over 1 or x. And so f of f inverse is equal to x. Okay, we're asked to find the exact values of all 6 trig functions. We have the sine, the angle is alpha. We have the cosine. We have the tangent. And then we have all of their reciprocals. Reciprocal to sine is cosecant. Reciprocal to the cosine is secant. And the reciprocal to tangent is cotangent. Knowing that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, we need to figure out what this hypotenuse is. 15 squared plus 8 squared should be the hypotenuse squared. And that's 225 and 64. And that's 289. And that's a perfect square. That is 17 squared. So the hypotenuse is 17. And so the sine would be opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse for cosine, opposite over adjacent for tangent. And then just take the reciprocals. 17 over 15, 17 over 8, 8 over 15. And that gives us the 6 trig functions of alpha. The exact values of those 6 trig functions. Okay, then to solve this trig equation, we have cosine squared. It's better to think about it like cosine x whole thing squared equals to a half, so we can take the square root. When we take the square root, we'll have cosine x equals to the square root of a half, plus or minus. And that's 1 over root 2. After rationalizing, we see that that is root 2 over 2. So where does the cosine equal plus or minus root 2 over 2? On the unit circle, it's all the 45-degree angles in each quadrant. Pi over 4 in the first, 3 pi over 4 in the second, 5 pi over 4 in the third, 7 pi over 4 in the fourth. They all have the cosine of plus or minus root 2. And these guys have the negative root 2 over 2 for their cosines. Okay, so the answers to the question are pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, 5 pi over 4, 7 pi over 4. And finally, we have solved this trig equation where we have the sine of 2x minus cosine x equals to 0. We're going to use the trig identity that the sine of twice x is 2 times the sine of x times the cosine of x. Okay, that identity there will help us to solve this. We factor out cosine x. That leaves us with 2 times the sine of x minus 1. So either cosine of x is 0 or 2 sine x minus 1 is 0. And so if the cosine x is 0, that means that you're at pi over 2 or at 3 pi over 2. 0 for x on the unit circle. At pi over 2 and at 3 pi over 2. And then we have the sine of x equal to a half. That happens at pi over 6 and then again at 5 pi over 6. And those are your 4 answers.